Steve Jobs has a great quote, if I'm able to quote.
Yeah, of course you can.
On here, if you want to be liked, go and sell ice cream.
Yeah.
I think it's.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm Jay Acharya, the CEO of Aspire Consulting and Training Limited, and this is the Becoming the Leader in You podcast. In every episode, we explore real leadership stories, successes, challenges, and also the lessons behind them. Although we're on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and listen to us on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, and more. My guest today has made a career out of helping managers stop pretending they've read the training manual and actually lead people properly. He's a learning development consultant who's worked across major retail and customer-focused brands, helping teams perform better. He sells more, survives, and helps them restructure without completely losing the plot. He's also built high-performing teams with fewer resources, created career pathways that led to 46 internal promotions in just 12 months, and has a slight allergic reaction to tick box training. Instead, he focuses on practical tools that actually help managers lead, coach, and develop people day to day. So if you sat through a training course wondering, is any of this going to help me on Monday morning? This conversation is definitely going to be for you. So please welcome Craig Bennett of Poppy Consulting Services. Craig, welcome to the podcast.
Yes, hello, lovely to be here. Thank you for thanks for having me. It's superb. Really looking forward to having the conversation this morning.
You're most welcome. And as ever, the guests have been fantastic, and I know that you're going to give some fantastic insight into who you are, what you do at Poppy Consulting, and also give us an understanding of what you can deliver for potential clients out there as well.
Yeah, sure. And I think it's really important to touch on what you said earlier, or just kicking off with the whole tick box training. I've been in learning and development for, coming up to 12 to 15 years now. And every company I work for has such a passion and such dedication to their teams. They want to help them. The easy part is bringing those groups of people together and talking about concepts and theories and what sounds great in the room that you're in. But once you leave that room, what happens? What is it that you're actually going to commit to? What's the action? And that's something that I really enjoy doing, having such a real intense and brilliant career in service-led roles, moving into learning and development, being able to actually go and apply things where there's an output, there's an outcome. It's crucial. It's crucial to a business success. And I want to give that back in the work that I do, in the role that I can provide and support organizations with, to keep things really, really simple, but deliver it in a way that it can align to what the business needs. All too often, businesses will say, we need this and we need this, and it's great. What does it actually look like though? What does success look like? And then how do we work backwards? And that's a big part for me in having those conversations up front, to kind of go, well, what are you looking for? Let's really dig deep. Let's really look into what it is that you're wanting, and let's then work out the best way to do it. I love that, because you get that moment at the end where I did that the other day and I remember that and it helped me with this. And I'm like, that's what we want to hear. And that's what I do.
It's refreshing to hear you say that there are companies out there that do want to develop their people, that do want to see the successes in their people, because more often than not, you do hear a lot of people saying, oh yes, we offer a lot of things, but we don't have the time for it. We're so busy doing work that we don't have the time to develop people. And sometimes that sort of creates a sort of imbalance of people development. But it's refreshing to hear that that's what you encounter. I'm going to go straight into my first question, if you don't mind, Craig. It's always about what the title of the podcast is, Becoming the Leader in You. So what does that mean to you personally or professionally?
Yeah, I mean, going backwards to go forwards a little bit, I was given such great opportunities quite early on in my retail career to go through the gears, as I would call it, of becoming a manager. You showed up for work, you put in the effort, the commitment, showed some promise in terms of working with customers, working in a team, and then before you know, here's a set of keys. This is what happens. And then you become a duty manager, you become a deputy manager, you become a store manager, all of a sudden you're on this career trajectory of greatness with these roles and these responsibilities. And I think for me, the biggest thing that's always underpinned me is achieving success. That's something that's always been really, really true and close to me. One of my core values as an individual is ambition.
Okay.
There's always something to go after. There's always something that you can take.
So what does success look like? You just said that's one of the things that you believe in. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah, I love that question. Success to me is freedom.
Okay.
I keep it really, really simple. I love to be able to make the choices that I get to make in life because of the success that I've had.
Yeah.
You know, everybody talks about the materials of success. So do you have a nice this? Do you get to do this? I get the luxury of freedom now, where I'm able to have time with you talking about my career, the opportunities that I've been given, and the success that I've had to be able to move into a consulting role, but also to be able to give back throughout my career as a learning and development professional about what great careers you can have. And the effort that you choose to put in is what you get out. So for me, it's that freedom to choose. That's something that's huge for me. And that continues to grow throughout, I think, in managers.
Sure.
Because if you don't, one of the biggest things for me being a leader is giving back. Now, there's lots of different sort of phrases and buzzwords around how you support your teams, how you look after your teams, but ultimately you're there for them. And the ask is they're there for you. And it's having that united front as individuals. And I loved being able to be part of those teams early on because it showed me what good and exceptional leadership could look like. I felt valued. I felt trusted. I felt empowered. So for me, I want to replicate that as a leader, to show people the value that you can get from having great careers, but also being able to pass that along to other people in your life as well.
Sure. So when you mentioned ambition being one of your personal values, when did you become truly ambitious?
That's a good question. I think my ambition kicked in at a very early stage. I'm going to wind back to college time. I love gardening, landscaper at heart, love the outdoors, love walking my dog, all of the usual stereotypes. But I went to college to go and do landscape gardening.
Right.
Because it was just something I had an interest in. I grew up with, my mum was very garden orientated and I latched onto that. Love spending time in the garden, still love doing it now to this day. And I went to college and I did the usual, you know, back in sort of the late 2000s thing where I'll go to college and I'll get a part-time job. So I started in a high street shop. And I found quite quickly that I enjoyed school to a degree, as much as you can do, but I got a real kick from working in a team. I got a real kick from the pride that you can have from having a well-performing part of your store, being able to have good mystery shop results, being able to, you know, surprise and delight customers. And for me, I'd always seen, I guess it's your frame of reference, I'd always seen my dad be quite successful in his retail career. And I thought, I want a bit of that. I'd love to be a store manager by I'm 21. So I set myself that goal at 16. And for me, the ambition kicked in from there. It was like, right, how am I going to achieve this? What have I got to do? What's the path that I'm going to do to want to be able to do that? And I think the first thing I learned quite quickly was I need to vocalize what I want. Because if I don't tell anybody, how am I going to know? And how would someone else know that? Not knowing. So ambition came in probably around that time where I left school and kind of thought, college was great. College was inconsistent. Work, you are consistent. You have routine. You have structure. You have goals. You have things that you can aim for. And hitting a goal feels good, right? It feels good because you've achieved it. So the more I did that, the more I thought, I can get more from this. I can get more from life. I can get more fulfillment quicker. And going along the way, doing that by having a team where, as I learned quite quickly, the great support, the great collaboration, the great opportunity to see somebody do something great because you helped them do that or you gave them that feedback. And I think from that point of view, that was always a big thing for me, that ambition. If I know I want to go after something, I'm going to do it because I'm doing it for me, but it helps those around company as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great to look at the analogy there, where you've been nurturing plants and gardens and grass, etc., and now you're going through nurturing businesses and CEOs and managing directors, into honing that skill into a leadership skill, which is great to hear. And you mentioned a couple of things there about following the footsteps of your father, wanting to go into retail, which leads me into my next question, which is about who shaped you into becoming the person you are today from a leadership perspective?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I ask this question a lot to people: who's the best manager you've ever worked with? And a lot of people will really, they do that thing of looking up to the ceiling going, the answer's on the ceiling. No, you're just having a good old think. And interestingly, I'll always try and pinpoint one. Normally people come up with 3 or 4. There's one that sticks out for me, and this was I've moved away from high street retail into retail park or big box retail after my first couple of years on the high street. And I interacted with a business where they were so keen and so driven on internal talent promotion, really wanting to promote from within. I relocated at this time as well from living a little bit away from home. We as a family relocated back into East Anglia, where I still am today. And I essentially had to find a shop where I could go and work in, based on me transferring within the same company. I just so happened to land in this particular region where there were a group of managers and leaders that were absolutely driven on wanting to be the best. There was no second option. It was, we will have the best performing stores. We will have the most satisfaction rates for our customers. We will internally promote and support people that want to have a career with us. We will have the best audited stores. There was no room for, we're going to do it half cocked as such. We're only going to give 50%. You're going to come in on a 10 out of 10. And those 3 to 4 managers, one in particular, really set the tone so early on with the difference between how you're responsible and then stepping up to being accountable.
Wow. Excellent.
Owning what you're doing. And I was getting this, in my early 20s. So I have to reframe sometimes when I talk about this. It sounds like I'm from the war. I'm really not. But I had so much given to me at what you could argue is a fairly young age for someone that's got responsibility for shops taking multi-million pounds a year with teams of up to 20 or 30 people. And just the commitment and the dedication that was put into you, every day it would be a challenge. Every day it would be an opportunity. Every day you would have to be that sponge where you'd be picking up those traits, those conversations, those moments, and just the camaraderie of working together, of when you've got a team all pulling in the same direction. You have that, sports people talk about it, that state of flow. When they're absolutely brilliant at something, they get into that level of flow. And the managers that I had the luxury and privilege of working with, we were constantly looking for that flow. We're going to be at our peak because we want to be the best.
And I think you do need that. It's great to hear that you've got managers, excuse me, who understand what the best does look like, and supporting you. And the fact that you've turned around and said that they have been your influences or influencers, to understand during those times as well. Even now, when we talk about retail, it's challenging times, because my assumption is you started off Poppy Consulting 12, 13, 14 years ago. However, prior to that, when you're working in retail, customers that were coming to you to learn about the products and then buying them online. And that in itself causes different types of challenges for yourself, for managers, supervisors, because you need to still hit targets and you have to keep that motivation going as well, don't you?
You do. And retail landscape, we're all consumers, whether we like it or not, listening to this, talking about it, today. And how we buy things has changed. We've become inherently lazy. People will say to me, I can't use, my phone to download something. Oh, how's your Amazon One click doing? Oh, I love that. Well, you can learn that. And we've become inherently lazy. And I think when you look at the retail landscape, shops have become smaller. Teams have become more compacted. but the demand from customers when they're in stores has increased.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you've got a real perfect storm of I've got more to do with less.
Yeah.
And it is such a challenge. And that resilience is a word that does get, branded or banded around, a little bit here and
there. It has relevance.
You have to have that resilience. You have to have that commitment to the fact that you're there to absolutely surprise and delight and excite that customer,
and
no matter what's going on.
With your client base at the moment, would you say that they're from the retail background, or would you say that they're from all industry sectors?
Excuse me. Right now, I'm focusing quite predominantly within retail and service-led sectors, and I've made that decision because of the length of time that I've spent in retail. I've been very fortunate to work across different sectors such as manufacturing, production, hospitality, and leisure. But ultimately, my simple approach is everything has an end user, and it always comes back to somebody buying something, or selling something. And I think for me, what happens is the world has got lazier, but the requirements have got more complicated.
Absolutely.
And as a business, as individuals, we have to remember to not overcomplicate easy.
Yeah.
I think about clients that I work with now, when we're talking about how we're going to approach managing more than one site, or how we're going to increase levels of delegation, or how we're going to be more strategic in our thinking.
Yeah.
And the first point I start with is describe to me or paint me a picture of the impact on the customer.
Yeah. It is the customer journey, isn't it?
100%. Everything that you do at the point of buying in the product, moving it from a warehouse, putting it on a shelf, giving it a label. Goodness me, what does it mean to the customer? Because all the customer wants to do, as all consumers that we all are, I want to go in and just pick that up and walk out.
Yeah, so, or have it dropped off.
Or not even leave the home.
Yeah, exactly. But that also does become a logistical issue as well. As you quite rightly say, it's understanding what the customer desires, and the customer desires value for the product that they're purchasing, and the best approach to them receiving it at home without having to, like you say, leave the house if they don't need to. And when we come into general business and when we start talking about leaders, that's also about understanding that's where managers and leaders want to be as well. They want to have the easiest route to supporting the customer bases that they have. And it's those decisions that they need to make. And sometimes those decisions aren't appreciated by other people. But as a leader or as a manager, you do have to make some decisions. So that leads me into my next question, which is about a belief in leadership that you hold that other people might disagree with. What would that be?
Yeah, I gave this one some real thought, because I frame leadership as it's applicable everywhere, every day. It doesn't matter what you handle, if it's a product, if it's a piece of livestock, if it's a person. Leadership is leadership. The principles run through no matter what your business is. And
of course,
there's been so many conversations in the last few years, and the phrase that resonates for me in response to the question is servant leadership.
Okay, tell me more about that.
There's a real thing out there that that the perception is, as a leader, you're there to serve your team. And in some aspects, I align with that, but in many other ways, I don't, because you have to be there for each other. You have to remove the word serve and support. Because the world is a tricky place to navigate for anybody, regardless of generation, regardless of background. There's so much going on that makes life challenging outside the four walls of work.
Yeah.
And I think if you have the mindset of I'm here to serve, or treat others how I want to be treated, no, you should be treating others how they want to be treated, and they should be reciprocating that as well.
I get that. And I heard a terminology a couple of days back about compassionate leadership. And it's understanding your teams, it's understanding your people and what they're capable of. But then that does raise the question, are you over compassionate, or are you also a leader in your own guise? Because that's also something that we need to be mindful of as well, that a leader does have to make certain decisions that other people aren't going to necessarily agree with. However, it's those decisions that are for the best for the company or for the organization. And that's when you start questioning, does the person that runs this business or owns this business or leads me as a manager, do they have my best interests at heart? And I think that raises the question, is it always about the employees or is it about the business? And can we become too compassionate?
I think with that one, it's striking a balance, Jay. It's a really, really good point to raise, because I frame it as, I look back over my career and think I had some great managers and leaders that were driving me. Now, if there's one thing that when I was in their shoes, I learned incredibly quickly, is the higher you go in leadership, the less you talk, the more you ask. And I think it's very easy to cling on to what your comfort is as somebody that's maybe stepped through the gears of, colleague, employee, manager, leader.
Yeah, of course.
And if you've done that, you understand and you have got that compassion, because you've been in the trenches, as we call it. You've lived and breathed what that role looks like. But there's only one person that can put your oxygen mask on when you need the support, and that's yourself.
That's right. Yeah.
And sometimes as leaders, if we're not making sure that we're where we should be, that behavior and that role modeling will reflect on our teams. And I think that's so crucial to recognize that sometimes we do have to do things as managers that not everyone will agree with.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the role that we're in. Steve Jobs has a great quote, if I'm able to quote.
Yeah, of course you can.
Here, if you want to be liked, go and sell ice cream. I think it's a thought-provoking quote, because as managers and leaders, you absolutely have to have compassion.
Of course.
You have to lead with empathy. You have to be emotionally aware, but you do have to be clear. You do have to be, provide clarity and expectations on what the requirements are. You do have to face into conversations that not everyone might like to have.
Of course.
And if teams themselves are not wanting that themselves, somebody has to, and that's where that falls to the manager or the leader in that situation.
And you mentioned clarity. That's about putting in place what that vision of that leader is. And visions, we talk about mission, vision, values all the time, but visions can be on a daily basis. It's what I need to achieve today, this week, this month. And this is how I need to achieve it, or this is how we need to achieve it. And there's a process that I use with all of my clients, and whenever I'm doing training or coaching, which is I tell them what I do need, what I require, and how I need to achieve it. Then asking the questions, how can we do this? What are the solutions that we can come up with together? If I do this, what can you do? If I provide this, what will you do? And then coming up to the point and saying, okay, so this is what we've all decided. So there's still that element of, dare I say, I'm not going to use the term servant leadership, but I'm going to use the terminology compassionate leadership, because it's still understanding that you have in front of you your assets, your investment. They're the ones that can deliver whatever needs to be achieved. And without understanding what their capabilities are, you're never going to be able to get to that level or that end goal without having them there. So that's really important. But that also leads into those pressures that, do I have the right people around me? Do I have the right individuals? Do I have the ones that can actually deliver what we've spoken about? And that creates pressure. We mentioned that you do work within the retail environment and working with retail companies, and pressure is in abundance at the moment with the cost of living, the cost of product, the cost of logistics. So it always increases pressures on businesses and managers. So when the pressure is highest, who do you become as a person, Craig?
I become that go-to person that can't do everything, but I need everybody around me. Pressure is an interesting one. You talk to people about, we've all had those job interviews, haven't we? How do you deal with situations under pressure? And you get the automated generic response. Well, I'm very calm, I'm very collected. And it's like, no, just be honest and go, it depends on the situation.
Yeah, I'm the bottle of Coke that's been shaken and you open it and that's me.
And sometimes if that's what the situation needs, you have to be adaptable with how you manage pressure. For me, I'm looking at the end outcome. I'm looking at what's the goal that we set out to achieve.
Yeah.
There's so many things now. You referenced it just then brilliantly around cost of living, distribution costs, lack of footfall on high streets, rates increases, rents increases.
Yeah.
When you're in that moment, someone that's accountable for that store's performance, you can only control what you can control. And I think for me, it's remembering what your purpose is and how you're going to continue on that path to success of what you set out to achieve. There are many things that can happen in businesses. I've been part of a company going into administration. I've been part of a company being bought out by private equity. I've been part of a company that launched on the stock exchange or launched publicly, sorry. So there's all these different elements of pressure that occur. And if there's one thing that I always think about is let's own our lanes. So what are the things that we've got complete control of, that we are subject matter experts in, that we can absolutely fully focus on, because we're still contributing to that business's success, because that's ultimately what we're here to do.
Of course.
And it doesn't mean to say that we don't pay an interest in the wider world, or we ignore what's going on around us, because that's crucial to know, holistically what is happening in a business. But for me, it's very much, let's just focus on the areas that we'll do the best we've got with the time we've got and who we've got around us.
Of course.
And it's about remaining calm. It's about showing the fact that you're still driving. It's showing the fact that you are still pointing in the direction that we started in. Because you can have your champagne cork moments.
Of course.
Internally, sometimes they do flare out externally. That's completely normal.
It's about finding that balance as well. What I find interesting is when I talk to some of the clients, and they turn around and say, "Oh yeah, my staff are amazing. They work so well under pressure, and it is a pressure intense environment that we have." And my question is always, but at what cost? If you're saying that your teams work well under pressure, then are they being overwhelmed? Are they working constantly under that pressure? And if they are you understanding what burnout actually is? And, yes, they'll achieve their targets, the results, the goals, but again, at what cost? If you're working 9 hours a day, but in order to meet those targets and goals, you end up working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, they're achieving it, but that raises different questions. And in the past, I used to work with one of the, I don't want to give the name away, but they helped fix windscreens, basically. And managers, or rather the C-suite, used to say, wow, this region is meeting their targets. It's fantastic. And it's amazing. They've been achieving their targets by having 5 less employees because they're on sick leave, long-term leave or whatever, but they're still achieving it. And how are they achieving it? The manager's not doing the management job. They're out there doing the job of one of the fitters. And because they're working those extra hours, that's not seen. And that takes you to the point where you don't have a compassionate leader, or you don't have a compassionate leadership. And the C-suite aren't reading the room, and they don't understand what the shop floor is like, but they just meet their targets. And that in itself raises those questions. What's that fine balance of working under pressure? And yes, you quite rightly said, Craig, you mentioned staying in your lanes and what's in your control. And it's about being able to challenge upwards and say, that's out of our control. You're enforcing something on us that truly isn't achievable in the scope that we've got. And sometimes we do things because people expect us to do them, and we become the yes people. As consultants, as trainers working with our clients, we will overindulge them and say, yeah, we can achieve that. And sometimes we overstep the mark. So my final question for today, Craig, is having an honest conversation. What's an honest conversation that you've been avoiding with yourself that would support you becoming a different type of leader?
Yeah, this one was a real thought-provoking one, because I'm in a very, what I would call great position based on my goals, based on my, freedom mentality of success, where I have, I'm launching my business. And stepping away from what I would call the monthly paycheck that we all we all lean into an anchor accidentally.
Security.
Consciously, security, the backdraft of just in case we know we're covered. Making that leap of faith, Jay, has been fascinating because as individuals, I think it's just innate in all of us. You can't outperform your own self-image. And if you are telling yourself this might not go quite right, that's what you're going to get. And for me, having that conversation is I will, dare I say it, it's always that practice what you preach in learning and development. God, yes. You should do this would be brilliant. And then you're like, I can't do that. I can't do that. It's not going to work. So the conversation I'm having daily right now is I can run a successful business. I'm going to, and I will have that successful business. I'm going to work with clients where I can add value. Excellent. I'm going to help businesses grow and show them the benefits of being able to internally promote and also invest in your teams. Businesses invest in products. Why would you not invest in the people? Business invest in technology. Why not the people? And for me, it's remembering that there's a lot of unknown when you're going to have a conversation with yourself you need to have. That's healthy. It's one of the best things you can do when you don't know what's going to happen. You decide that you control your brain and decide what that's going to look like. You look back and sort of hear different things from people about adversity, situations in life where things happen. I had some adversity in 2025. I had a real challenging year. My mum passed away very suddenly. And, it makes you reframe. And for me, a goal of mine was always to run my own business. And I thought, right, you know what? This is happening.
Sure.
The fear of the unknown because of what happened, you don't know. Well, I don't know about that either, but I've worked through it. I'm still on that journey, but let's get my teeth into this. The ambition drive kicks in to go, that would be superb to do because I've got that motivation. I want to be able to do that. And that conversation's happening every day, really. I can run a successful business and I will successfully support clients.
And that goes back to what you were saying before about your ambition. And that you are an ambitious person and you have created a successful business. So congratulations on that. Unfortunately, Craig, time is against us. And I would just like to say thank you so much for your time today. It's been great to understand a bit more about the retail sector and what the impact of leadership is. And I know that we could have further conversations about this because it's absolutely prevalent to current climate, not just in the UK, but globally as well. So if anyone would like to contact you, how would they go about doing that? How would they learn more about who you are?
Of course. So LinkedIn's a really, really good opportunity to engage with me. I'm Craig Bennett on LinkedIn. The picture is me, keeping it very, very simple and straightforward, which is good. I am on poppyconsultingservices.co.uk. So that gives a real snapshot into me, into my business, but also the LinkedIn page on Poppy Consulting Services as well really sets the scene of what I would love to achieve with businesses who would absolutely want to get involved and equip their managers to manage and lead even better than what they are now.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll make sure that everyone can see your information and anyone listening on the podcast, I'll put it into the description for them. But as for today's Becoming the Leader in You, I just want to say thank you for watching or listening. And please don't forget, as ever, to like, subscribe, share so you don't miss any great episodes like this one. From me, keep growing, keep leading, but most importantly, become the leader in you. I've been Jay Acharya, and my guest today has been Craig Bennett from Poppy Consulting Services.
Thank you.
You're welcome.